What is the most disrespectful shit someone has done to you? It was the night before my 21st birthday. My best friend in college, who was older than me, was excited to take me to a bar at midnight to ring in the momentous occasion. Then this girl who had been flirting with him for weeks called to tell him she was having a party. Thinking we could do both, he decided to drag me along before going to the bars. Now her place was outside the city, and therefore outside nightlife. But my friend, who honestly up until this point was reliable, assured me that we'd leave after an hour, so I should call my other friends to meet us downtown. I'm sure you can all assume we didn't make it to the bar, and some might have guessed, oh, it's because your friend hooked up with this chick. Well, slow down, because this is where shit gets disrespectful. We go in, hang out, she's all over him and tells everyone to come go skinny dipping with her. We can both see the danger signs flashing, and decide that now would be a good time to go. Unfortunately, she took offense to this, and calls him a slut while smacking him across the face. She starts crying, and tells us to get out before chucking a bottle of vodka at his car, shattering the passenger side window where I was sitting. This is while we're driving away. He stops, screams at her, and I got to spend my 21st birthday giving a statement to the cops and picking vodka-soaked glass out of my shoulder. Girl invited me out on a dinner date, and then made out with my roommate while I was asleep. They dated for 2 years before she cheated on him, so I'm really not that broken up about it, but it was a rough few months. Edit, 3,000 upvotes. Well then F you Lindsay, since this is getting visibility. My first job as a photography intern. My boss posted on Facebook that he was going to fire me hours before he told me. We were friends on Facebook at the time. When I worked a kiosk, someone sneezed into their hand and wiped it on my back when they passed by. I'm sure others have had it way worse, but when I was about 17, I was assembling a ride-on train track, about 2 feet between rails, for an indoor amusement park when the owner of the company came in. He decided to help me. I don't know why, I didn't ask for help and didn't need help. He helped me put a couple track segments together, and decided that was enough work for him, so he got up off the floor and wiped his greasy, dusty hands off on my jeans, with my leg in them. I was seriously incensed. It was a first day of one of my college courses, and we were telling everyone our names. I said mine and the professor said, my husband wanted to name our son that, but I didn't want him to get made fun of. Edit, my name is Angus. A kid at school when I was younger who put out his cigarette out on my face. Still got the burn scar. Edit, a lot of people been asking about the repercussions, and suing him for damages. I was really young back then, around 14, and the rules around bullying wasn't set to stone. They left it off as, kids being kids, even though I had serious burn marks on my face. We filed a complaint, went to the police and sued him. In the end, the lawsuit returned us with something minor cause he was too young. So he did get some tasks he needed to fulfill by justice. It wasn't enough for me. Hope that clears the questions people had. Locked my new bike up outside a supermarket, and ducked inside to get some yogurt because it was Friday night, and that's how I de-stress after a long week. Self-checkout line was busier than expected, but I was in and out in about 10 to 15 minutes. Didn't want to leave it for too long, because someone had pinched the seat from outside my house a couple of weeks earlier. From a short distance I could see my bike was facing the opposite way I'd left it, and felt a little confused. I got closer and saw my U-lock looking like a pretzel. It seemed like someone had tried to wrench off my lock, failed, and then just picked up my bike and tried to use it as leverage to pop the thing off, failed again, but succeeded in completely fucking the entire aluminum frame. Total write-off, could not be fixed. Teacher here. From a student. One student described how he would rape and kill me in graphic detail after he failed a test. From a coworker, a paraprofessional mocked me for high-fiving one of my autistic students after he gave a really great description of how he understood a math problem. That kid is a selective mute with a horrific past, and she told me I was a complete joke for congratulating him. Even worse, she said it in front of the kid. From my father, putting me down when I got to meet my childhood idol. I got to show my idol my first published research paper, and my father interrupted just to tell me, "Shut up, you are not going to win the Nobel Prize." My ex didn't allow me to have any female friends, and wouldn't even let me say my best friend's female name in front of her. We broke up because she fell in love with her best friend, male. Go to meeting for work. Co-worker says to opposing counsel, "Hey, do you want to meet Gutenberg Bible? He's here," and gestures back at me standing in the hall with a bunch of files. This mother effer looks me up and down, turns back to my co-worker, and says no. Yesterday at my job, supermarket, I went outside with some guy to bring the handicap scooter back in. He immediately began to yell at me and curse at me about how he's handicapped and for not helping his wife unload their groceries. I tried explaining to him that because of the current situation, we can't touch people's groceries unless they specifically ask us. He wouldn't even let me talk, kept interrupting and insulting me. So I just stayed quiet, and he eventually threatened to call his grandson to come kick my ass, then drove off with his wife, who was also insulting me under her breath. Being an essential worker sucks. Former boss owed me some back pay for a legit reason. My wife went into hospital for a month because of a complicated pregnancy. Baby was C-section, and then had to be NICU. The day of the C-section, boss said he wasn't going to pay me anything. Edit for all those asking. Yes, of course I put in a complaint with the Ontario Ministry of Labour. Unfortunately, if an employer doesn't pay even after an order, it's put to collections. If the person is shitty enough like this dude was, they just dodge those collections too. I'm sure it'll catch up with him eventually, but at this point he's been run out of his home city. My abusive first girlfriend said to me, "I'm glad for your mama, because she doesn't have to be around you anymore." Literally the same night I confided in her that my mom ran out on me, and I hadn't seen or heard from my mom in years. For reference, back in the day I was almost 300 pounds, had long hair that was always in a ponytail, and I was very timid and quiet. Anyways, in 7th grade a guy told me his friend had a crush on me. His friend was within earshot and he, with full disgust, said, "Hell no I don't. Never her." I'm pretty sure they did it as a joke between themselves, but then other guys started chiming in, who they were not friends with, and adding their own 2 cents about how I was hideous. When I was 18, I was dating an alcoholic. We arrived separately to a party, and when I got there he was wearing nothing but a bathrobe, drunk as F, and insulting and trying to fight everyone. I tried really hard to get him to leave the party, so I could drive him home, and he was not having it. Started berating me and then threw a lit cigarette down my shirt. The same guy also put an overripe banana down the back of my shorts, and hit my ass as hard as he could in front of all his stupid friends. He effing sucked. Thankfully, it's 10 years later, I have self-respect now and don't date assholes anymore. Not the most, but definitely up there in the top 10. Kids on the bus held me back, and yelled to the bus driver, "He isn't here," so I had missed my bus stop, and had to walk home. They did it again the next day, but I fought back in time, and, when I was leaving the bus, the door caught a strap on my backpack and began to drag me with it. The strap finally snapped and I went rolling forward. I just laid there for a bit on that hot afternoon. I was in 5th grade, 10 or 11 years old. I didn't do homework often, because my teacher was mean, and I didn't want to do anything he asked me to do. But I decided to put in extra effort to finish all my overdue math homework, so I could submit it the next day. I finished all the worksheets in one night, stapled them all together, and wrote my name on the top one. I gave them to him, he looked them over, tore off the top one, then ripped the rest of them in half and threw them away. He looked at me and said, "I don't know who those belong to, they didn't have your name on them," and then he kept me inside from recess and told me to redo them all. Effing asshole, I'm still pissed at you, Mr. Prime. I was crying my eyes out on a park bench in the city. Me and my abusive ex-boyfriend had a huge fight over the phone, and he essentially told me that I had no friends, I wasn't worth his time, his friends hated me. I can't actually remember what started the argument, but he'd said a lot of incredibly upsetting things to deliberately hurt my feelings. A stranger came up to me crying over the phone, trying to do it quietly and hide it. Might I add, the guy looks me straight in the eyes and said, "What a reffing mess," and walked away. Made me feel like complete shit. Edit. Holy shit. I did not expect this to get so popular. Thanks for the upvotes and your kind words. 20 plus years ago, when I was in 6th grade, an 8th grader spit on my bike, then in my helmet, then on me. I punched him in the face. One of my friends saw all this, ran up and also punched him in the face. He ran home. But my sister brought our cousin, who I despise, to sleep in my apartment just for the night. The next morning, the cousin invited my ex-boyfriend and started to make out. In my living room. In my couch. I hate them both. Went in for a handshake and they dabbed on me. Edit. Wow, thanks. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more daily Reddit videos.